Okay, this video is about how to move left, right, down, up, and he's not going to get stuck on the wall, so he goes right, and then he goes left, and he goes up and down, and he doesn't get stuck. And I'm going to show you how I did that, and show you like the parenting part of it, connecting all the pieces, and the camera view following the person. I will show you that so he doesn't get stuck on the walls. Alright, so this is how I did it. So you have 4 pieces of the character. You have him going right, up, down, and left. Depth -5, and then since the camera view is on the object right, because that's who you start out with when you first start the game, you want to make sure that at the camera view, go to views, make sure you set enable the use of views, check clear background with Windows color, and make sure you say check visible when room starts. So that's going to basically put a white outline around the room. So the view, when you look at the view, when you play the game, all of this right here is going to be shown. None of this area right here is going to be shown until you move the character. And then the room is 640 by 480. Port, same thing, 640 by 480. Then the camera view is going to be fixated on object right, which is the character here. If you put object left in here, or object up, down, when you first start the game, it's going to throw an error because the camera is trying to find object right. So make sure you set it to object right. Then the H bore and the V bore, make sure you have this high. I think when you first start it out with Game Maker, they have it set to like 1, I think. So I set mine to 1200. That way when he moves close to this outline box, the camera view will move. Because if you have this set to 1, then let me show you what happens. You have to get really close to the edge before you see the rest of the screen. So you have to get really close to the edge before it start moving. So you don't want that to happen, because then you might run into some bad guys or something. So you want to make sure you set this to a high number here, both the H and the V. This horizontal, vertical. This, keep that at -1. Alright, so all these pieces here for object up, down, left, make sure you parent it to object right. So it doesn't matter which way you, because if you don't have it parented, he's going to jump, because the camera view can't find, because all this is linked. Make sure that up, down, and left are all linked object right, because if you don't have that set up, then the camera view is going to jump. So what I mean by that, if it's not parented here, I'll show you this real quick, and then I'll get to the wall problem. See, you don't see, the camera view doesn't follow. You lose the character completely. So make sure it's all parented to the object right. Alright, and because that's who you start out with, is object right. So, and the camera view is on object right, so everything has to be parented to object right. So that way when you move the keys, then he goes in that direction. And all my controls are going to be in the object right. Nothing object up, object down, and object left doesn't have anything in there. All the down, left, and up, all that's linked to the right. So everything, you want to put all your keys in the right object. So like for pressing left, I did a switch statement here in the main 1 tab. I said change instance, make sure it keep this itself, change instance to object left, perform event yes. So when you press left, he's going to switch object right to object left and perform event yes. Then he's going to make sure you change this to object left. You don't want to have it set to self because you don't want to move object right. You want to make sure you move object left. So make sure you change this to object left. Then you go in the direction that the left's going in, left arrow, and the speed. And for left release, make sure it's set up for object left, and then middle, and then 0 for speed. And you do the same, you repeat the process for the up, down, and right side. So for the up, you switch, you set it to self, then change instance to up, perform event yes, then make sure it's object up, then you go up in the arrow, 15 speed. Then when you release, object up, then direction is going to be middle, speed 0. So you can release the key and he's going to be looking up, but he's not going to be moving. So the same thing happens for the other keys as well. The down, self, object down, perform yes. Then he's going to go down 15 speed. Make sure you set it to object down for that character. And same thing happens for the right. Well, he goes right. Well, you see, you just set it to self here. Object change to right. And then he moves right, 15 speed, object right. Then release, object right, middle, speed 0. Alright, so then when he hits the wall, you want to make sure you use this move free. Drag that over there, and the direction and speed is 0, and then you make sure you check relative. That way he won't get stuck in the wall. So you can go forward and hit the wall and then move away from the wall and he's not going to get stuck. Also in the edit, make sure to modify I set mine to centered. The hairs will be in the center of the character, and then modify mask is precise. And I have space around the whole character. And I did that for all my objects. Make sure it's all the same. Centered, and then you have space around the character, precise. You got to repeat the process, make it consistent, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and I'm sorry, you're also going to make sure that the object wall is solid too. If you don't have the solid, he's going to go right through the object, the wall. So if I don't check that, watch what happens. See, you went right through the wall. You don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure that the wall is set to solid. And I guess the big key here is that you want to use this move free, so that way he doesn't get stuck. Make sure the direction is 0, speed 0, and set to relative. And this will be applied to all the objects: object left, object down, object up, because you parented all these images. You parented the object left, object down, and object up to the object right. So it takes on all the characteristics. Whatever is in the object right, these other images of the character get the same thing. They get the same information. It's kind of like using the persistent, pressing the persistent button. Everything, well, I wouldn't say it's like the persistent, because persistent, it continues from one room to the next, but it's kind of like that because it takes all the elements. But that's what that's what pairing does. When you parent it all to one image, it takes on all the characteristics of whatever is inside the image. So object left has the same elements as object right because you parent it to object right. Object right doesn't have anything. Okay, so you don't have to parent that because it's object right. You don't need to parent that to anything because it's that specific name. Everything else has to be parented to object right, so it takes on all the elements as well as the camera view. The camera view follows the object right, and all the elements are linked to object right, so you're not going to have a problem with it not moving with the character. See, it moves with the character, whether it's left, right, up, or down. Camera view follows because you have it parented, and it takes on all the elements of the object right for all your other images, left, right, down, or I'm sorry, up, down, left. All that is linked to object right for your movements and hitting the wall, everything. Alright, and that will conclude this video. Thanks for watching.